Iran-Israel-USA escalation, a dangerous new balance of power. Cinematic geopolitical neutral analysis. InfoTained by Dependable. Be informed. Be entertained. Opening. After months of uneasy calm. After negotiations stalled. After diplomacy flickered, but failed. The balance shifted. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, announced major combat operations against Iran. Israel joined. Missiles struck Iranian cities. Tehran trembled. Retaliation followed. This is not a breaking news update. This is a geopolitical analysis. What changed? Why now? And what does this mean for the global balance of power? What just happened? According to official statements, coordinated strikes, codenamed Operation Epic Fury, targeted Iranian military and missile infrastructure. The stated objective: neutralize nuclear and missile capabilities. Iran responded under its own operation, launching missiles toward American installations in the Gulf and toward Israel. Reports indicate impacts near the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and facilities in Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates. Air defense systems in Israel intercepted incoming missiles. Civilian casualties have been reported inside Iran, though numbers remain contested amid communications blackouts. Oil prices surged. Global markets dipped. Diplomats rushed to emergency sessions at the United Nations. This is escalation. But escalation is rarely spontaneous. Why this moment ignited? The tensions did not begin this week. They are rooted in 4 structural pressures: nuclear mistrust, missile development disputes, regional proxy competition, and decades of ideological hostility. Negotiations in Oman and Geneva reportedly stalled over uranium enrichment levels and ballistic missile limitations. Interestingly, mediators from Oman described progress, including discussions about zero stockpiling and fuel conversion of enriched material. Yet Washington declared that Iran was unwilling to concede critical demands. That gap between diplomatic interpretation and political conclusion may have been the hinge point. When diplomacy collapses, deterrence replaces dialogue. And deterrence, when miscalculated, becomes confrontation. The balance of power shift. This crisis is not just about Iran. It is about balance. The United States seeks to prevent nuclear proliferation and maintain strategic dominance in the region. Israel views Iranian military entrenchment and missile expansion as existential threats. Iran sees itself encircled by sanctions, military bases, and alliances aligned against it. Each actor believes it is acting defensively, but when 3 defensive doctrines collide, the system destabilizes. This is the dangerous paradox of balance of power politics. Security for one can feel like aggression to another. When perception hardens, compromise narrows. The Strait of Hormuz variable. One of the most critical flashpoints is the Strait of Hormuz. Approximately 20% of global oil supply passes through this narrow corridor. Iran's Revolutionary Guard issued maritime warnings, suggesting potential restrictions on passage. Even the perception of disruption sent Brent crude prices sharply upward. For oil-dependent nations, this crisis is a double-edged sword. Countries such as China, Japan, India, Italy, Nigeria, South Korea, Spain, and Turkey all rely heavily on stable energy flows from the Gulf region. Higher oil prices may temporarily benefit exporting economies, but prolonged instability risks inflation, supply chain disruption, currency volatility, and global recessionary pressure. Energy markets are geopolitical barometers, and right now, the needle is unstable. Global reaction. The Secretary General of the United Nations condemned the escalation and urged immediate de-escalation under the principles of the UN Charter. The African Union warned of economic and food security consequences, particularly for vulnerable regions. The European Union emphasized nuclear safety, regional stability, and strict adherence to international law. The United Kingdom confirmed defensive deployments in the region, but denied participation in the offensive strikes. Across global capitals, the language shares one common thread: restraint. Because when major powers engage directly, proxy containment can dissolve into regional war. Three possible pathways. From here, three broad scenarios emerge. First, controlled escalation. Strikes continue, but remain limited. Back-channel diplomacy quietly reopens. Second, regional expansion. Proxy groups activate across Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, or Yemen. Shipping lanes become contested. Oil flows become leverage. Third, strategic pause. All sides declare symbolic victory and step back from further escalation. History shows that wars often begin not from an intent to conquer, but from miscalculated signaling. The real danger now is momentum. Once national pride and public rhetoric escalate, leaders lose flexibility. What this really is. This is not merely a military exchange. It is a test of nuclear deterrence credibility, regional alliance structures, energy security stability, international law enforcement, and the resilience of diplomacy itself. The question is no longer who struck first. The question is whether the balance of power can hold. Because once balance collapses, restoration becomes far more costly than restraint. Closing. This is not part of the Biggest Lies series. This is cinematic geopolitical neutral analysis. The objective is not to assign blame. It is to understand the structural forces shaping this moment. Power, perception, security, retaliation, risk. The Iran-Israel-USA escalation is not an isolated crisis. It is a stress test of the modern global order. And the world is watching. InfoTained by Dependable. Be informed. Be entertained.